Morning all. Busy morning. Just want to tell you about a little adventure I had. So I've gone down to my doctor's surgery with my little slip to get some more tablets, and the pharmacy can't take it because they said that I've got to put the slip into the actual surgery. I thought, fine, fair enough. So I went to the surgery, and the surgery's closed, guys. I mean, I'm like, okay, fine, surgery's closed. This is helpful. So I went back to the pharmacy and said, is there anything you can do? Because look, the surgery seems to be closed. I'm here. I've got the slip. I'm allowed these. Just need to put it in. And they said, no, you're going to need to contact your surgery. So anyway, as I walk back out to the car, you wouldn't believe this, right? It gets better. It really does. It gets better. So as I walk out to the car, I look round to the left, and there's this chap talking to one of the women that work in the surgery at the door. I thought, this is great. So maybe they're not closed, even though they were closed. So she's at the door talking to this chap about something to do with this chap's wife. So I walked over, and I thought, well, this is my opportunity. So I walked over. I spent 5 minutes waiting until this chap had what he needed to say out. I thought, no, fine, not a problem. I'll wait. And then she says, how can I help you? I said, oh, hello. I said, is it possible to give you my prescription? I just need to put it in so that I can get my tablets. She said, oh, no, you're going to need to ring the surgery. I'm thinking, well, you're there. You're standing in front of me. Anyway, the point of this video is the world is broken. Coronavirus has broken the world, okay? The world is fallen apart. And just to get some evidence to that, I have a witness, all right? Here's my witness, little man here. Now, did that happen or did that not happen? It happened. It actually happened. Well, guys, if you thought that the world couldn't fall apart anymore, it already has. Thank you very much.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Shh. 19th of July, Grem. Fancy
yes,
that.
it certainly is.
And Grem, I don't know about you, but I can't believe this. Now we've got the makeup artist in here, right? He runs in, takes one good look at me and you, goes, well, I can do a lot with that, meaning me. Don't need anything with you, can't do this, I've got other things to do, and runs out. There you go. So now you're left with this, guys. You're left with this face. And sorry to say, I don't know what you're going to do with yourselves with that note. What do you reckon?
Well, Ben, I think all you basically need is a nice clean shave.
See where this is going. Well, thank you very much, Grem. Thank you. Before we get going then, this is another Ben and Grem show evening, 19th of July, and it's Sunday, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We have Andrew with us, and we also have Lee. No, we don't have Lee, actually. Or do we? No. No Lee. But we do have Lisa, because your name begins with L too. I guess that's where I was going with that.
Possibly.
Grem, thank you for coming in on the stream. We've got lots to talk about, lots to do. Lisa says Leeds up into the Premier League. Yes, Lisa, yes. Nothing to do with football on this topic of discussion this evening. Nothing. But no, what a quick mention, and rightly so. Leeds United are back after 16 years. Fantastic. Grem, how have you been?
Oh, I've been fine. I've been busy with family stuff, and we're getting ready for tonight. Been looking forward to this evening.
Absolutely, and I couldn't have said it any better myself, Grem. Me too. Absolutely looking forward to this evening. Looking forward to another episode of the Ben and Grem Show. Quite a few things to discuss, as like usual. Firstly, just want to make a quick mention to the chat. Of course, please do so. Come in on the chat box. Hello, Andrew, and utilise that piece of equipment to your needs. We also have a number for you to phone. It's 07948 511 608 if you want to talk to us on the chat. by audio, or otherwise you can even now text the Ben and Grem Show, and it will come straight through to the very own studio of the Ben and Grem. Grem.
Ben&Grem.
That's it. And yeah, busy days we've both had, and good days. But Grem, before I go any further, waffling away, do you think it's about time I started with the first topic?
Yes, I think that'd be a great idea. Otherwise, people will fall asleep.
They could do, if they haven't already. Well, Grem, actually, before we go on to that first topic, I always do this, but there was just a quick mention to the very video that you watched just as we started the stream. And thank you for viewing. Some of you have already seen the video on my own personal Facebook page, but there's a message behind this story, and I think the message is how things have changed in the current situation of coronavirus. And prior to coronavirus and current days of coronavirus, the new modern world, you could say. It's strange that, of course, Grem, we know that we have to, start changing our ways of life, maybe. But do you think sometimes there are situations where we change it a little bit too radically? Do you think?
Well, sometimes the situation does require that, doesn't it? But it's how we go about it. We do need to make a quick decision. It still needs to be thought through as well.
Yeah, it does. I couldn't agree with you more. And like I say, I'm quite good at agreeing with you, Grem. There's not too many things you say that's not worth agreeing with, actually. So we have a few viewers in. Before we start with our first topic, hello Lisa, hello Lee. Lee isn't in yet.
He done it again.
Whoops. Andrew, Lisa. And I think there's a slight delay, guys, on the stream, and so I'm not getting the information up as quickly as I'd like. But you are still there, and we are still communicating, which is the main thing, Grem, isn't it? Right. Topic number 1, Grem. You ready for this?
I believe so, but are the viewers ready for this?
We shall see. Right. Interesting one. And current times, really, you could say. Difficult times, current times, changing in many areas of today, our ways of life. And there's a food outlet, or it's actually a trader, and some of you may know in America, may not otherwise. It's a trader called Joe, or Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's sells various different things. So anyway, the article is this. It says, Trader Joe bends the knee after petition demands removal of its racist food brands. The company also claimed that it had started to phase out the packaging practice material. Start again. Right. The company also claimed that it had started to phase out the packaging practice several years ago and aims to exclusively use the Trader Joe's brand on all of its products. The chain's acquaintances did not sit well with many social media users who argued that the labels were not a non-issue, and that has become lamented one person. Sorry guys, making hard work of this. Others expressed amazing at how the people who apparently have enough free time to such seemingly pedantic demands. God, I really made hard work of that, guys. Basically, let me just spell it out to you in another way, shall I? So basically, Graham, that was awkward, wasn't it?
You got through it. You got through it.
I got through it. But guys, do you know what I should do right now? I should probably come away and come back in again, and start again. Basically, Trader Joe's. So it's branding and materials, so packaging material. It's being under question, under spotlight, due to the material packaging messages, and it has been a discussion that's gone out on places like Twitter, for example, social media. And a lot of people have said, well, actually, on that, and in response to that, actually, what's going on? You know, what's the message here? Why are we doing this? Why are we changing the messages? Is it necessary? Is it racist? You know, and it's an interpretation, really. It's people's interpretation to what's considered racist and what's not. And so the situation is that we are now starting to see, you could say, Graham, nowadays, packaging or certain brands having to relook or rethink their strategies given the current times that we're in, because now it's deemed that it's not adequate enough. Wouldn't you say that that's probably the best way to put it, after my rather difficult introduction?
Yes, I believe it's okay. You've done well.
Yeah, well, I know when a man's lying. I didn't do very well at all, guys. But there you go. But no, I hope you got the message there. It was a little bit muddy, but it's like I say, it's American chain, Trader Joe's. But as we move swiftly on to topic number 2, don't try to smear Brexit. Now, there's an interesting one. Okay. So basically, we have gone through a large amount of time, particularly around coronavirus, and found, Graham, haven't we, that Brexit has gone on the deaf ears actually recently, and rightly so, because there's been some pretty serious situations to deal with. COVID-19. But of course now we are coming into the period of January, which of course next year is when we leave officially the European Union. And with that said, of course a lot's going to come back out again upon how we do leave. Now there's something that's come about actually recently this evening, and it says don't try to smear Brexit. So MPs fear controversial Russia report. Now Russia back in the headlines. Russia report is another plot to sabotage UK leaving the EU. This is what the suggestion is by some MPs. A prominent member of Parliament has said that the forthcoming report on Russia's influence in the UK politics is just another desperate attempt from bitter Remainers to try and undermine the result of the 2016 Brexit referendum. So the Conservative MP Andrew Brigden said that the the House of Commons Intelligence and Security Committee report, which is due to be published within days, will be another attempt to sabotage Brexit, ever keen to keep up with the US counterparts. The report examines whether Russia interfered in UK politics, particularly during the referendum and the European Union membership. It was drawn up when the committee was under chairmanship of Remain supporting former MP Dominic Grieve. So like we've heard, haven't we, Graham, haven't we, that we've had all the scandal around the American election, presidential elections, and whether there was any involvement from the Russians to how that conducted. And we heard all that, didn't we? And I think it was fair to say there was an extensive review and there was seen to be no wrongdoing. Or at least that's how I believe. You can quote me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think that's how it ended up. Now, with that said, the subject of Russia still not gone away, and here we are now. There's now somehow the subject come about that Russia's somehow potentially meddled with the referendum result. Now, who could have made it up? You couldn't have made it up. You couldn't have written it, could you, Graham?
No, not at all, mate. It's just a way a group of people are trying to reignite an already tried and tested and failed reason that they used last time. And because, as you said, it's all gone quiet at the moment on the Brexit front, and they need to basically bring up some new issues. And as they can't find any new issues, they're recreating, bringing up the Russia term and slightly adjusting the meaning of it, hoping that it will pull enough people in to support them and share their posts, etc. It's not good.
It's certainly not good. I agree with you, Graham. Again, guys, two things from the viewers now, Graham. Firstly, I'll mention Lisa. She says, do you remember her nickname, Graham?
No. Hang on. I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I'm not sure. It might be explicit, so I won't think anymore.
Okay, on that note, Lisa, please jog the memory of the Ben and the Grem, won't you? And also, the second point I wanted to raise was Andrew. Now, Andrew, thank you very much for putting this out. He wants to mention, and absolutely rightly so, get well soon. Eric Bailey, who is a Manchester United centre back, I believe. Yes, who played against Chelsea recently and had a huge suffering of head injury. And yes, most definitely get well soon. I think that's very much necessary. And that's the problem, isn't it? When you play contact sport at such a high level, you do have the knocks that are not exactly, well, let's just say not helpful. I mean, certainly can keep you out of the game for ages and ages on end, and certainly some serious injuries. So yeah, good luck to him, and get well soon, Eric. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, Lisa, please do. Yeah, as I say, come back to us on that, because I'm not sure, and I'll probably kick myself when you tell us, because Graham, it's probably one that we should have remembered, right? Do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know why, but I've got Bumblebee in my head, but I don't think it's Bumblebee.
Wasn't that about a car I drove once? I remember that conversation.
Yeah. No, I can't think. Which is possibly a good thing, especially if it's not pronounceable.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, Lisa, you'll come back to us very, very soon. And please do, because you got me thinking now. And hasn't she got you thinking, Graham, actually?
She has.
I feel like we should know this.
It's like a trick question, isn't it? It's just like she's trying to trick us.
Oh, well, I will kick myself. Please say hello to your good other half, Lisa. And I hope he's well. Boris Johnson. Right, here I go. Right, so the guy's a hero, isn't he? I mean, after all, we all love a bit of Boris Johnson, don't we?
Bojo.
Bojo himself, yeah. I mean, come on, we would, wouldn't we? Can you imagine being in the pub with this man? I mean, how much fun would you have with Boris Johnson in a bar? I mean, wow. I mean, I bet you he would have some great stories to share. But anyway.
Oh, I think he would, mate. I think he would. I think you would have to take along a brush, though, with you and tidy his hair up a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there, Graham. Well, there's another article on him, and the article reads as this. So Boris Johnson, now this is it. So I'll say he's very, very popular, right? And we'd love to have a beer with him, but there's a little bit of scandal. He says. So it says here, Boris Johnson concedes that the UK might not be able to visit family at Christmas, which is quite a feat to be dubbed a Grinch in July. But that's on the prospect of facing Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, declined to assure that the British public that they will be able to visit their families at Christmas. So obviously, again, it's talking about, the coronavirus, and we're talking about, the potential possibility of further lockdowns and social distancing and so on and so forth, visiting family and friends. And so, yeah, we could find maybe by Christmas, Graham. Sadly, I hope not. I hope personally, I'm sure many of you do, that that's not the case. When you say, Graham, I don't think that would be good, would it, for anybody, not being able to see people at Christmas?
Exactly. I mean, we're hoping to get into the studio, aren't we? So that may cause us an issue. We'll have to pitch a tent somewhere and be in our own bubble. That's what everyone's going to have to do, pitch tents.
Yes, pitching a tent. Well, that's it. We're not going to Glastonbury, Graham.
Well, I know, but that was a bit of a ridiculous sort of bridge there, so I do apologise, everyone. Moving on.
I thought it was pretty good. Lisa says, can you repeat? She said about her question. She said, can you repeat your question? Please repeat, laugh out loud. And he says hi. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hi to you two again. Hi to you too. Graham, what were you saying?
Yes. What? No. Have you got to repeat the question about Bojo? Boris Johnson?
Yes.
AKA Bojo.
It might be a good idea. Yeah, why not? Let's do that. Yeah, so Boris Johnson concedes that the UK public might be able to visit family at Christmas. Or not. It says here, it might not be able to visit, but may or may not. It's a bit undecided at the moment, and it's because he has potentially been dubbed the Grinch in July, and he's declined to assure the British public that they will be able to visit their families at Christmas during the pandemic. So basically, as I said, Lisa, there's a chance that, given coronavirus, isn't that right, Graham? That we might still be under a said lockdown And with that, of course, there's no guarantee that we can go out and do our usual things. We've seen some really harsh
But
times.
at least he's given prior warning of a probability that it will happen. So there's enough time ahead to mentally work it out for yourself and your loved ones. So I think letting people know now is possibly the right idea, because look at how they've gone with everything else. It's been a bit last shot saloon, isn't it, on most things? They haven't really given much prior warning, so
No.
it's more openness there. So that is a good thing, that the Prime Minister and the government have been more open in that respect.
I think that's true. But also, you could say, Graham, couldn't you, that you can't really be referred to as a Grinch if you're giving people potentially a lot of notice. We all know the situation, don't we? I think if he had have said this, I don't know, in November, then you could probably have thought, why so late? Why?
Then it's the same sort of people that have got issue with this. If he didn't say something, if he didn't say anything on this subject, and then Christmas comes, and then about a week before Christmas or 5 days before Christmas or whatever, suddenly the government says lockdown, no one could see families.
Yeah,
they'd be on his case then for not giving prior warning to ready people mentally for it. So it's all the same culprits that are just out there to dig and dig.
Yes, indeed. And Lee, finally, I can actually address Lee and say he's here in the viewing. He's in the chat. Thank you very much, Lee. He says there was a bit of. He said there was a lot of media outlets. Yes, no, that's true. There is. There's a hell of a lot. And Lisa says, why can't we live in? We can't live in fear. No, absolutely right, Lisa. She says, common sense a must play. Good hygiene and wash hands. The world gone mad. Yeah, made. Feels like we are being pushed to use modern technology to live our lives. Yeah, I mean, Lisa. I mean, it is worrying. I mean, I had some conversations with people today about facial masks and face mask coverings, and the fear is that how long has this got to go on for? I've spoken to one particular girl who said to me that she has difficulties breathing, and of course, when you're in a fairly active job, there's nothing worse when your breathing's restricted. And particularly if it's warm as well, as it has been over the last few days, and it kind of made me start to think that I mean it's not good for your health, surely. I mean, it has, although it's supposed to be good for your health and protecting not just you but others, it's probably also quite detrimental as well on a long-term basis. So I mean, breathing in your own carbon dioxide, dioxide. I nearly said monoxide then. Carbon dioxide, breathing that in regularly can't be good for you. I mean, it would make you sleepy. That's why they say keep a window open when you're driving, because if you're taking in too much carbon dioxide because your car is enclosed, you will feel sleepy. So I don't know whether actually it is a good idea long term. But of course, we understand that there are rules in place, not just in workplaces, but in public areas, and we have to do as are told. But let's just say hopefully it won't be forever. It can't be forever, I don't think, because I don't think people will put up for it for too long. I think people will get rebellious on the subject, I honestly do believe. But they also said that, or at least it's understood to be, that there's a potential that we could see footballers, for those that are interested in football fans seeing their football stadiums full again in September onwards, maybe into October. So we'll have to wait and see. And I would say, actually, having a conversation with somebody recently about this, now if you're somebody who supports your local team, like for example, Grem, if you support like maybe Dover, then of course you've got to then realistically get the supporters there, because ultimately when you're a smaller club at that level, you rely heavily on the resources of match ticket days and stuff like that. So they potentially could not really maybe start another season unless that opportunity comes their way, that they can get their fans in. And I think if you take the National League, now we're talking a lower league if you like, a lot of the attendances are far smaller. So as long as, and I still believe, as long as you do your social distance thing, there's no reason for why they can't get their fans back in their stadiums. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously more will come with that, I'm sure. But it's not the most important thing on our minds. Obviously it's living our lives and keeping safe and doing what's right and staying out of trouble, isn't it? Grem, you got anything to pick up on that, or should we move on to the next topic?
No, move on to the next topic, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will do. But Lisa's just said she can't wait to see Leeds playing against Premier League clubs. No, absolutely. But not just that, Lisa. But the same question lies for the likes of Leeds as well, because you were talking of attendance, and the attendance has gone up drastically with the promotion. Parts of the stadium is now to be unlocked for furthermore supporters, which is great. So yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. I think for the whole of the Premier League as a whole, they're going to want to see their supporters back. And as I say, there's a good chance that we'll start to see that happen in September. But September, isn't that August, September? I think that's going to be what sort of Champions League era sort of time frame, isn't it? I think we're into the summer period then, aren't we? I think that's in between the season, isn't it? But anyway,
isn't there a load of matches coming up this week?
There is, Grem. Yeah, we have the playoffs for the Championship playoffs. Again, there to see who third place will be, who will be fortunate enough to go up to the Premier League. Yeah, I'm not sure when that is, Graham. Do you know? I'm not entirely sure, guys. Does anybody know in the chat when the champions or the Championship playoffs are? I think they've had the League One playoffs already, because we know that Wickham has been promoted. Congratulations to Wickham. Wycombe Wanderers are now in the Championship, so good on them, which originally were a League One team. And they were tipped, actually, Graham. It was quite interesting, because the story has it they were actually tipped, Wickham, to go down into League Two. But their manager has pulled them through heaps and bounds, and yeah, they will see themselves as a Championship club next season. So yeah, there we have it. Thank you very much, Lisa. Lee has said there's a lot of media outlets trying to discredit Bojo, so it is just them making up headlines when all he's saying is what might happen. No, absolutely, Lee. I couldn't agree with you more. That's true. I mean, of course, he's only giving the worst case scenario, isn't he? It's like today on the news, Boris did say that, Graham, he said that there is a chance we could go back into a national lockdown, but that's not what he's aiming for. He would hope we avoid that. But if he has to do it, he will. But he doesn't want to do that. So in other words, I think it's obvious to say that he doesn't want to risk the economy a second time. He believes there are ways in which we can avoid this. And I
think that's the reason why, isn't it, that they've actually placed in the necessary permissions for the councils to actually, and city councils, to take the lead and do local lockdowns where, here, there, and so on, to help the recovery financially of the country, so we don't have a whole country shut down. So yeah, so they're doing everything I think that they can do. We've just got to ride the wave. We've got to ride this rogue wave. We've got no choice but to sit it through.
Yes, indeed. Well, actually, as we're on the subject, I'm going to, Graham, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I'm actually going to reshuffle the order of topic, okay, by one. Okay, so rather than jump to topic item number 4, because of the subject we're actually currently discussing, I'm going to go straight to topic item number 5, okay? For you viewers, you haven't got a clue what I'm talking about because you don't know what the topic is, because that's the point of this, right? It's the Ben&Grem Show. It's on the hoof. But it's not quite, because we're but you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean. Don't think you do.
Yes, we have had some production time on this, so it's definitely not off the cuff.
No. Well, anyway, so we were talking about coronavirus, talking about lockdown. We're talking about Boris Johnson's warning message about Christmas, about the fact that we might end up not having Christmas celebrated or celebrating with our family and friends, given lockdown restrictions, and it all comes around the point being of whether we, as adults, as human beings, behave ourselves. When I say behave ourselves, I mean we go about our lives sensibly, we do the right things by our hygiene, and we listen to the government when they say social distance, and we don't have illegal raves, ladies and gentlemen. Illegal raves or illegal gatherings. London is in the headlines again. London is in the headlines. I just want to show you this quick video and just get a concept of this, right? Now watch this video, because this video really does worry me to see. I mean, because of the nature of what's going on. It's almost as if people are now coming to a point, Graham, isn't it, where they are sort of completely ignoring the fact that we are still where we are. And yeah. So see what you think,
And
guys.
it's also the fact that they are not respecting law and order. So please take a look at this, guys.
Indeed. Okay, without further ado, thank you guys. Have a look.
Make it. I wanna be a baby. Just like you think I'll make it. I know it's not about it. I feel like just I can't get over it. It's going down. Things that I'm doing.
Well then, guys, you saw that. That was a little bit of footage on 2 videos, which of course signify, I would say, certainly the issues around London at the moment and the pandemic. I mean, the fact that, you know, we are still in a form of lockdown, and yet we saw a legal rave there, which was later dispersed, I understand, but not without a little bit of controversy. There had been some retaliation by the general public. And, you know, you've got to sort of respect the police there in the sense that they have to come and aid that situation when actually there's other matters that could be attended to. You could say it was unnecessary, but of course not in the case of so many people. They aren't listening, some people, and they are defying, you could say, Grem, couldn't you? The absolute news and the messages. And this is what I don't get. I mean, like, you know, there was a lot of people there. They looked like they were having fun. It kind of brought us back to some of the memories of going to nightclubs and letting your hair down a little bit. But guys, you know, you've got to be careful, you know what I mean? I mean, there's so many people there, Graham, wasn't there?
There was too many people there. I don't know the figure for total, but from the video that we've just seen, you can see that there was an awful lot of people being present. It's just unacceptable behaviour, and the fact that they have no sense at all in regards to the pandemic and the situation is just beyond belief that people have to be like this.
Yeah, well, this is the point, isn't it? So when we all have a go at Boris Johnson for potential lockdown over Christmas, we know who to blame, don't we?
But they won't get the blame.
Of course not.
No.
Well, but maybe it's not just them, of course. There'll be others that have defied, maybe just not the ones that are being spoken of. But yeah, I think we're all accountable, aren't we? We've all got to take responsibility and ownership to...
I think the main issue here really is the fact that the police need to be the police. They need to uphold law enforcement. And if it means getting heavy-handed with in specific situations, if it warrants it, if they've tried all other avenues first, then go in heavy-handed. Simple. I mean, what happened with those 2 water cannons that Boris brought when he was Mayor of London? I believe they're in storage, aren't they?
Yes.
Obviously, they would only be used for a lot more of a public disturbance into the thousands, I suppose. You couldn't use that sort of thing. It wouldn't be deemed as reasonable force to set one of those off on about 30 or 40 or even 50 or even 100 people. And really, I don't think that would be accepted. Do you?
No, I don't. And that's it. You know, it does need looking after. And Andrew says that Sadiq Khan, I can't pronounce that out.
Can you somehow
no,
sugarcoat it?
yeah, maybe sugarcoat it. Frosties. Is that sugar coated? Frosted is sugar coated. It's cornflakes, but just sugar coated, isn't it? Really. They're great.
Yeah.
Andrew says Sadiq Khan needs to restore law and order to London. He has lost his own city. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think he has. I think
it would be pointless. It would be pointless him even going down that route to even say that people need to adhere to the law, because in the next breath he is then basically doing the total opposite.
Yeah.
He will show support for an organisation that is causing an awful lot of turmoil at the moment.
But it's strange though, Grem. I mean, I don't want to come off topic here, but Sadiq Khan, he is he getting as much flack as the likes of Cressida Dick, the commissioner, police commissioner. I mean, because it seems to me that the police commissioner is getting flack for policing, yet Sadiq Khan maybe is not getting so much flack for failing. I don't get it.
But he's responsible for the policing budget within the London boroughs, isn't he? So well, someone knows the answers to that. I could say a few things, but I don't think that they are broadcastable.
No.
It's not right the way that the Cressida Dick is being treated in that respect, even though she should be making sure that her officers are upholding the law. That she could do that more. But if she hasn't got the support from higher up, which the next office higher up is the Mayor of London, if she's not getting the support from there, and he won't show the support, will he? Because it means changing his stance and coming away from the left. So he has to be extremely careful with how he handles it, especially the fact that the mayor elections have been placed on hold. Is it November? Is it running along the same time as the presidential elections in America?
Yeah, thereabouts, I believe. But yeah, I mean, Graham, it's like the police. Where do you draw the line? Because I mean, after all, Lee made a very good point here. He says about how if people are launching missiles at you, when I refer to missiles, glass bottles and objects, how would you react? And of course, what can the police do to keep us safe? What must they do and what must they have to do so? No, I mean, absolutely, Lee. I mean, we are dealing with some vicious activity. People throwing things at people and things like that on the streets of London or any street is dangerous. And so we can't, I feel, be too harsh on the police all the while they're doing what they need to do. I mean, so the police hit back. Well, actually, is that a bad thing? Not really. I mean, ultimately, what do you expect them to do is the point here, isn't it, Lee? Absolutely. What would you expect to do in that situation? They are the law. And, if you don't want to clout off your local officer, don't upset him. Is the answer to that,
At the end of the day, we should respectfully be able to be fearful respectfully. That's what I'm trying to get across. We shouldn't be fearful of the police in a frightening, worrying way. We should be respectfully fearing the police because of the authority that they have in keeping ourselves and our loved ones and the wider community and community safe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Graham. And Lisa's made a very good point. She says, that Sadiq Khan is, he's cut a lot of the policing budget, and see, the thing is, I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, what we do realise, of course, is and we know historically over the recent years, is that Labour's position has been less stop and search, and with that means obviously cutting back, and so funding isn't required in that department, and you can't sort of comprehend that sort of ideology, all the while we know that knife crime and activity in London and in our country has risen.
Also the fact that when the Conservatives won the election in 2015. I think that came up in topic about stop and search, because it was weaned down a little bit, wasn't it? It was watered down a bit, and they brought back in the authority side of things to do with stop and search. But now with this BLM situation that has blown up, in some respects positively, in other respects not. I think everyone must be able to agree on that. It seems to be in the limelight again. It seems to be in that spotlight, and now they are trying to weaken the stop and search again. But the thing is, if you are doing wrong, and if you do fit a description of someone, and as long as the police are following the correct procedures and have the evidence with regards to the photo that they may have with them, a computer generated photo of a person that they're looking for, if you fit that person, that description, then I'm sorry, end of. Accept it.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it's people's view, Grem, isn't it? In that of, well, actually, why are you arresting me? Well, they're probably not arresting you. They might. It might seem like that because they're challenging you, but let them speak. Let them do their inquiries. Because at the end of the day, as you say, Graham, you're absolutely right. If you match the description of somebody, coincidentally, after all, there's billions of us in the world, then what's the harm in that? If anything, we should be praising the police for doing their job. Yeah, I mean, we moan at the police when they're around their cars, driving around various different areas in their cars, and then when we actually see a police officer challenging someone, again, we don't like that either. You know, we have to, I think you're absolutely right, Graham, we have to start respecting the police force for what they do, and yeah, and kind of try and change our mindsets a little bit, I think is probably a point in all this. Also, Lee says she'll be right back. Lisa, I'm getting Lisa and Lee's confused here. I know they're start letters of the letter L. So Lisa says she'll be right back. Lee has said, acting like politicians, bending the knee and acting in such a way politically is not correct in any case.
It's not just correct. It's basically aiding the situation to do with the disrespect of the police force, because people will look upon the police and thinking you can't do nothing. You're weak.
Absolutely, and that's what they're doing.
And they shouldn't be like that. They shouldn't be like that, should they, Ben? They should be upholding the law. And period. End of.
Agreed. Well, Graham, that brings us to our next point. And we're jumping back to 4, remember, because we moved around on the topics, didn't we, very, very briefly. So it's topic number 4, which is a London cop. Now, it's worded cop, but I like to say police. All right, I mean, it's a bit common, isn't it, cop? But anyway, let's just say police, right? So local police or a police member has been suspended over footage of officer kneeling on man's neck during one arrest. The Metropolitan Police officer has been suspended and another has been removed from operational duties over an incident. Captured on camera, which has been known that the police officer knelt on the suspect's neck during his arrest in Islington, London on the 17th of July, which was today?
A few days ago. 2 days.
2 days.
2 days. What's the day today? Is it 19th today, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah. Graham, that's... So, kneeling on people's necks, what's this about? What's going on? Why? How is it happening in our country?
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe it was eventually putting the pressure on the shoulder, and maybe the person had moved, and it went to the neck, and the police officer should have moved his positioning. It's just an error, and so hopefully he will be reprimanded over that. But let's see the bigger picture first, because we don't want to jump the gun and assume that it's totally negative when there could be a side of the story that we're not actually seeing. You know what the media are like. They like to show you what they want to show you because it sells. It brings the people in.
Indeed. No, absolutely. Graham, now, historically, we talk about freedom of speech and we talk about, how times change. And I think naturally times do change. We go from the 60s, 70s, 80s, various different things happen, different music, different livelihoods, and that's fine. Call it evolutionary if you will, but there is also bad changes. And when I say bad changes, I mean changes that happen too quickly, changes that people don't recognise and are expected to recognise, you could say. And that comes to my next point about history. Now, we've seen a lot about the BLM marches, haven't we, over the recent months and weeks, and of course the need, if you like, to want to eradicate what is known to be our history, to not only just eradicate, but also, if not to eradicate, to paint a different view. And this brings back to a point here tonight about a particular article about the army, or shall we say the British military. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This story here, it says, history is what it is. Leave it that way, basically. So this is one response to the story. Netizens fury as RAF decides World War II mascot name is offensive. Replaces it with replaces the gravestone. The gravestone marking the restored place with a mascot of a World War II RAF squadron has been updated and to be more politically correct, sparking accusations that the British military is trying to whitewash history. Now there is a little bit about that particular word, whitewash, which is seen or deemed to be questionable as to whether it's acceptable to be used. So, but we won't go into that particularly. That's not the message here. The message is that now, for those of you that are not sure what I'm talking about, I will divulge further, Grem. So there was a black Labrador, Grem, and it was part of or belonged to the Wing Commander Guy Gibson. For those of you that don't know who he is or haven't heard of him, and he served as a mascot of the 617 Squadron. Now, the dog had a rather controversial name, and it was known for drinking copious amounts of beer with the RAF pilots. The canine was hit by a car on the same day that the squadron carried out a famous raid on 2 German dams in May 1943. Illustrating the dog's importance to the squadron, their mascot's name was used as a code word to confirm that one of the German dams had been destroyed. Now, I'm not going to spell out the word of what the dog's name was, but the point being is it was a word that was used then, and it was known in history to be the word that was used then for the dog, the name of the dog in other words. But now, because of the way things are going, certain words almost have been watered down or otherwise said to be incorrect or not to be used, and we are now starting to see, as I say, history being unpicked. You can't change history. History is history. We should be only being able to manifest and change the present and the future, but it seems to me people are trying to change history, and it's got a lot of people's backs up. Grem, I mean, what's your take on this?
Oh, it's a difficult subject because the name of the dog. It's difficult to talk about this because I don't really want to have to bring the name of the dog into the conversation. But it's okay for some people to use the name that we are not going to mention amongst their own their own people, but it's not okay for others that are not within their circle to use the same phrase. Personally, I don't like the phrase, but then I question myself because is the reason because I don't like the phrase because that with regards to the negativity that it can bring to a group of people. I've never liked I've never liked this word, and I believe that is the case. Where it's been created, the word, the meaning of the word has been used out of context, I think, on both sides. personally, I don't think I can ever say the word again. I don't even like reading it.
No, and Grem and most of us, I think it's fair to say, including myself, of course, agree with you on that. It's an atrocious word that really shouldn't exist, because I think it's more known for its derogative term than it is for its positivity, if ever there is positivity with it.
I don't think there's any positivity attached much to it. There is on with a group of people that are happy to use it when they're talking to their brothers and sisters. They will use that word, that name. They will use it, but because they for some reason they've accepted something in the past that was created to make a group of people less than important, but they've now taken it on as a positive thing, and they're using it near enough all the time. You've only got to go to certain places throughout the United Kingdom and even locally where we are, and you will hear the term repeated. I've heard it repeated with close family members of mine, because they have personal connections with individuals from that group of people that accept the term as positive, which originally it wasn't. And I just don't like the word.
No, but Graham, it's kind of almost, isn't it? It's kind of like do as I say, not as I do, or do as I do, not as I say kind of mentality, isn't it? In a way.
It's okay for us, but it's not okay for you.
Anyway.
It's just not acceptable.
But
either
the point,
way.
But the message really, yes, it's not. But the message is, please, for those of you out there listening, and it's not just from me, but it's from, I think, many silent majority conservatives, the silent conservatives, the moderate conservatives. Can I say that, Graham? It's a bit political.
You can say conservatism.
Yeah, conservatism.
Because we're not actually members of the Conservative Party. Well, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I think the message is, please, when you feel the need to want to change something of the past, please don't. Right? Because we learn by our past, and it's a message that I think we need to put across.
Yeah.
Not just.
Well, we have learned by the past. We've all learned by the past. That's the reason why certain things were made and implemented back in 1807 with the slave labour being abolished. Yes, it took 30 odd years to eradicate, to get rid of it totally. But because that's the way things move. It's a slow process. It's annoyingly slow. It should not be slow, but it I suppose in a way it is, because it takes time from dealing with each area, doesn't it? So each area, each country, step by step.
Yeah, of course.
And so on.
Well, the general consensus of the message is that, people do deem history being a learning curve, and we have history for a reason. We think at the time it's right, but then we realise later on as time evolves that actually maybe it's not right. So that's our ideal opportunity to change the way we think, yes, or do things.
I mean, all they've got to do is redo the plaque and mention that just put enough wording, a paragraph, a lengthy paragraph, just stating that the terminology of blah 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 blah, and just put a fact in there, that it's an unacceptable term, and we would like that they would like to mention that to get it across that the military and the people in authority in the country understand this. So they want people to understand that they understand.
We want people to understand they understand.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. We want to understand the people they understand the people. Grem,
Yeah. Yeah.
Lisa says mummy's duties. She's back. Hello, Lisa. Nice to see you again. Lisa, yeah, you've missed a fair bit. We're having a rather controversial subject coming on. But
Yeah.
no, Lee, he says, following up, Lee says he's a Spurs supporter. We chant the phrase Yid, or Yid's Army. Yes, you do. That's right. And refer to to ourselves as Yiddos. In the news recently, it was been told that we are not allowed to say this. However, we use the word as a term of endearment. Is that right? Endearment, yeah. We know our founders of the club were, bear with me, Seymour, were founders of the club were Jewish, yeah, and it's a way of recognising honourability. The origins of the club, the word isn't used in malice. No, absolutely. And you raise a good point there, Lee, because again, it's yeah, I don't know. It seems like, yeah, we do seem to be now, isn't it, picking on words. You know, it's, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. You can't even now have a conversation with people, it seems, without the fear of saying something that might offend someone. And now that could just be a completely innocent subject. And this is where you've got to be careful, because people, I don't know why it is. I think now I'm going to be quite controversial now in what I'm about to say. And I think the reason for this is because I think too many people nowadays don't really care of detail. They don't really care to understand. I think, you know, they hear what you're saying, but they've already painted a picture before they've understood it. And yet that's the problem with people. They think before they speak, but not in the correct way, if that makes sense. They don't think about what they're saying as such. They sort of, or thinking, they just sort of think what they think without actually having any educational or otherwise understanding. So if
it's a situation, mate, where they don't look at the bigger picture.
That's right, Grem. You're absolutely right. And it's like, and that can be anything, any subject. You know,
Yes.
whatever the situation may be, in whatever subject, and you're talking to someone or talking to a collective of others, it's always good to try and put yourself in both shoes. You know, regardless of what's being told to you, weigh out the odds and the situation on both sides, regardless of what the subject is, however controversial it is, and then try and come to a common ground. That's the only way you can try to understand any situation. And then once you come to that common ground, you can then make a quite justifiable, you know, approach, rather than, and there seems to be more of a willingness in this world nowadays to sort of take a situation, have a view on it. Now, a view can just be a view. It's a personal opinion. Have a view on it, but have a view that has no factual importance to the subject. But since the fact that people have that particular view, it doesn't matter whether there's facts to it or not. It's just, that's their view, and that view is allowed. Well, actually, hang on a minute, because people need, I think, to research. I mean, they need, I think, people with the technology that we've got today, with the amount of internet capabilities we've got, the amount of news that can be found across the world, across the globe, there is no reason why people can't educate themselves. There's no reason why people can't have a very mutual discussion and come to majority of agreement on the basis of facts. But that's politics, because as they say, Graham, isn't it? It's like one man's facts is another man's lie. You know, and that's politics, and that's something that I think politicians themselves need to think about, rather than say, well, actually Labour about this and Conservative about that. But actually what they've got to be doing is saying, well, we believe in this, but that's not real. But we'll believe in that anyway because we can make it real, even though it's not the way things are, and then hope that people are going to support it. Well, that's the problem with Labour, you see. They want this ideology, utopia of world or nation of unrealistic pledges, and yet they think that if they can get enough support for it, that it will happen. It's not going to happen. Sorry, Labour, I'm not just bashing you here, but that's the problem, isn't it? And that goes, doesn't it, Graham, with people and their thinking patterns. You know, people get this picture, and then they say, well, that's what I believe. And that's it, regardless of what anyone tells them. that's what they believe and that's what they're going with, regardless. You can show somebody the facts, but they're not going to want to read it. And that's just the problem. That is the problem in modern day society. Grem, that does actually bring us on to somebody who is remarkable. Not to everybody, because some people don't like the man, but remarkable in the sense that when credit is due, then it's due to be had. Grem, I think you know where I'm going with this.
People that don't like the man, only one group.
Yeah. Do you know more about Grem?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's just say he had a huge involvement with Brexit, didn't he?
Yes, I do know who you mean, but I'm just trying to
Well, basically, Majid Nawaz. Now, for those of you that don't know who he is, Majid Nawaz is a presenter on the London LBC show, which plays 24 hours a day. We have various different presenters on. It's also political, but also not. We have on that show, I'll say we, LBC, they have various different people come on their show and talk about various different things as well. But anyway, nonetheless, and quite remarkable the story is that Majid Nawaz, now he's come out in a recent live broadcast and said this. He says, I'm still shocked actually about this.
I'm shocked about it as well, mate, because someone, before you carry on, it's pronounced Majid, isn't it? Majid
Nawaz.
Yeah, he is of the left of the spectrum of politics, everybody, but he does occasionally drift into the centre on certain topics. So for him to actually come out with when Bennett explains it, it is a bit of a shock because it just does not fit. It's like he's fallen over and banged his head or something. Something's happened, guy.
I think it comes back to the point, Graham. I think you're right, but it does, doesn't it? Before we go into the subject, I think it comes back to the point about what we were saying earlier, wasn't it? About how when any situation, whether you believe it or not, when every situation you come across, if you take the necessary time to research or kind of sit yourself in the middle for a moment, then actually people then start to change their view. Honestly, it's a natural process. Trust me, it works. And I when I think politically, I actually don't think I'm right or left. And when I say that, Graham, I think this, maybe you can also back me up with this. I actually think I'm neither until I've heard the situation or the story. Because actually, but until I've heard it, until I've kind of weighed up options, I might actually be left on certain things as equally as I might be right on another. So I'm not.
I think that's the reason why we've always got on quite well, but that's why we've sort of been drawn together through politics.
Yeah,
that's how we got to know each other, and it's because we both got similar thought patterns to do with how to address the political questions in society, and I feel that I am quite broad church, because there is some policies from the Labour Party, for example, that I'm thinking, I can see that. I can see that working quite well. And then there's others that it's the same with the Conservatives, and even the Liberal Democrats have some reasonably good policies in certain areas. I haven't read much of them recently, so I don't know if they've changed. But I believe I'm broad church, and I think possibly you are too. That's why we get on so well.
Yeah, I think that's a very good analysis, Graham. Well, the point is on the subject, not to go off topic too much, but we are still within the confinements.
Sorry, guys.
No, but we are, Graham. It's not your fault. I started to divulge off. But actually, Graham, it's to stay on topic is to the point of Nigel Farage, ladies and gentlemen. He has been very influential in recent modern day politics, and he has been called out by Majid Nawaz, and Majid Nawaz has said this. Majid Nawaz says that Nigel Farage should be brought in from the cold and given a peerage. Now, I couldn't agree with him more. I think a lot of people have sort of recognised the work that Nigel Farage has done, and they do believe that if it wasn't for him and a particular organisation in question, party UKIP, then we wouldn't have had the referendum. We wouldn't have had necessarily that view being available to us. And it's interesting because no politician over the years has had such an influential take on a movement as like he has. I mean, of course, we talk about like the likes of Winston Churchill, and again, you've got people out there that don't respect him very much. Sadly, in my opinion, he's great. But regardless of who the politician is, you're going to get your positives and your negatives. But I think it is about time, wouldn't you say, Grem, that this man Nigel Farage does have a peerage upon him. It's kind of I think it goes against what he believes in, really. I think if you ask him the question, he would rather, of course, he might be a bit modest and he might sort of tone it down.
I honestly think that he would really very much like it.
Oh, of course.
But because he would accept it as what it is, a thank you. But he also would understand the negativity to come from it, and possibly won't accept it anyway if he was offered, because he would probably be thinking that, if I accept this, does it mean that I've got to shut my mouth? Do you know what I mean? So I believe that's possibly the way Farage is thinking, either way. And maybe that's why Majid has basically brought this up in discussion. He's quite strong on the left on a lot of topics, and as I said, he ventures sometimes within the centre briefly, and maybe this is his way of silencing Mr. Farage, hoping that he will take a peerage and go and off and live in America or something as a peer. I think they just want to keep him quiet. They want to shut him down.
Well, you always have to wonder, don't you, the minds of others when, of course, you've been somebody that's been quite criticised, if you like, in the media, not necessarily for the information you're putting out, but for the information you're putting out on the basis that it's earth-breaking, earth-shattering. The point is, when Nigel Farage used to speak and the line of politics of which he used, it showed people up. Now, it didn't necessarily show them up personally, but as a group, to actions of which they are or were taking, and it exposed a lot of things. And so, of course, naturally in the world or in society, you do things sometimes which is seen to be right, but there'll always be others that will see you as doing wrong for doing so. And because of you're exposing someone, you're always going to have your haters, and that's the situation with Nigel Farage. And you're going to get people naturally that don't support him simply because they don't agree with the way that he exposes people. Well, actually, I think it's pretty good. I mean, obviously, we do need to go through life, allowing democracy to shine and to have people be able to go about their lives knowing the truths, or should we say the facts? I mean, there are facts to everything in life. It depends on which facts you believe, but there's only one lot of facts. It's how you interpret them, I suppose, is what people misguidedly go on.
Well, this is it. That's just another topic that could take forever to discuss. I mean, how do you interpretate this, that? Yeah. And but there's only one way, and it's not the way that you feel personally. If for example, if you've got a building and it's called a community centre, well, that tells you what the hell it is. If you've got, for example, certain topics are going on like big at the moment within the news. Certain news headlines. It will give you a headline, and it only means one thing. But people will, as Ben said, will grab hold of certain bits that actually mean something to their belief, and the rest of it, some of the facts or part of the facts, they will just screw up and throw it away.
Yeah, indeed, Graham. That's, you couldn't be any more further from the truth there. Andrew says he'll be back in 5 minutes. Well, actually, he said that roughly about 5 minutes ago, so he's probably already back already. But not a problem, Andrew. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know. Lisa says it really is about the English language. No, you're right, Lisa. How people use the meanings of a word and how they put it across. So, absolutely. So, you know, you can take any word and you can say it in any way. You can say it positively or negatively. It's your tone of voice, it's your expression. They all have a role to play. It's the English language is very complex, and that kind of muddies waters again, doesn't it? In the sense that, you know, when you've got a problem or controversy over a subject or word, that actually was it misinterpreted? Misinterpretation to certain words is a huge issue in society, in that somebody could be using a word without derogative interest, but actually found to be derogative because of the word itself. We have to be realistic and actually try to understand the message. And that's what it's all about, understanding the message. I think we always think negatively over everything, and then before we realise it's too late, the scandal's already out. We really need to take a step back, I think, with people and understand where they're coming from. You know, and until we understand where they're coming from, only then we can then start to make a proper judgment. But that's something that I don't think has ever happened in politics or in society. I found that early on. I think people are very judgmental, sadly. And I think as much as we've had the lockdown, people have suggested that actually people are going to have a lot more time and respect for individuals. Now, there's probably some truth in that. I think I've certainly noticed people's visions and views be slightly somewhat different to others, which is great because, after all, we're all trying to get on in life, and you know, we shouldn't be jumping down each other's throats. There's no need for it, you know. So think about the consequences and think about what it is you're actually trying to say before you know, trample on someone, really.
Exactly.
Yes, Grem. This is another point, and we've slightly thrown ourselves back, Grem, to BLM, you know, Black Lives Matter, because good news is it's starting to quieten up. And I think many of us have looked forward to that, although we still see the messages on our national television screens, and fundamentally the message is right, you know, but that sadly the people around it is wrong. The people around the message is putting it out wrong, and their actions and their continuous thought process is slightly somewhat wrong. But this is something that is or has come about, and now so we are slowly coming out of the lockdown. And given the time of us being in lockdown, Graham, we understood how London was, as for a little while, was quite quiet. You know, and London being quiet is very odd in itself. But now it seems that the lockdown is lapsing, should we say. It also has brought some worrying news, but there's a point to this news. Shall I begin, Graham?
Please, mate.
Okay, so it says here, the article is, as lockdown loosens, more black men are stabbed in London, but Black Lives Matter has nothing to say. Despite a huge public profile on ongoing media attention, Black Lives Matter fails to identify a role for itself in combating the appalling number of deaths of young black males in London from incidents of knife crime. What's its purpose then? Very good question mark, that one. As pandemic lockdown restrictions were eased in London, it was very much business as usual, including the deaths of many by stabbing of 3 young black boys in the English capital in the past week alone. The loss of black sons, brothers and fathers and husbands continues unabated, pausing momentarily while society was in lockdown, then grimly resuming once we were all free to leave our homes. In this case of the talented MMA fighter, so I'm not sure how to pronounce his surname or no, his name here, but some may know, Jarrell Shepherd, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was 30 years of age. He was killed by a knife, sadly, on his birthday party, cruelly by cruelty has no respect. So what is puzzling with this is that it seems that the public outrage for those who can generally be relied on to raise the issue over the issues we've seen with Black Lives Matter are closely related, yet the colour of the person's skin. For instance, where is the Black Lives Matter on this issue? Why the silence? So, yeah, I mean, this is why, as much as now, Grem, it's right, the Black Lives Matter message. We understand it, and we understand why. I think they're doing it. Like I said, there's a political element to it as well, which is unacceptable. There has been a lot of activity around it as well in London. Again, equally has been unacceptable. But with that, you ask yourself, why haven't they protested? On the same token, these people matter, right? And they're black people. You know, it's still the black community, and they're being murdered on the streets. Now, that's an issue. So that matters as well, doesn't it? This is why I think, actually, when I say or hear the word all lives matter, that kind of makes me feel comfortable, because in my mind, I'm thinking everybody's the same. You don't see colour. You're blind to colour. And with that, kind of ignores, not so much ignores racism, but doesn't bring it into the conversation, which actually is good, right? Because if you're going to try and phase something out, then avoid it. There's no need to bring it in. Right, so we're trying to phase out an issue which has been an issue over the many years, but to keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it will never go away. And so, you know, Grem, I think, I say am I right? It's an opinion, but I just think that, you know, there is a message there that kind of makes sense. That why are they not out there now? You know, Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying they should be, and I'm not advocating they should be, because it's, again, we're in a lockdown. But, you know, surely this is something they're against.
Oh yes, you would expect that to be the case, wouldn't you? It obviously does not fit their agenda, because they are concentrating on one thing, making sure that history is totally rewritten. It's annoying. It's annoying that we're even having this conversation.
It is, but the point is, maybe, yes, having history rewritten, well, let's have the present rewritten, shall we? And I think there's a message to that as well, isn't there? The BLM maybe should be talking about, you know, changing the current situation in London. Innocent people losing their lives to knife crime. Let's try and campaign to stop that, shall we? That would be a good start. I think that would be a very good start. And let's start with the mayor on that as well, because evenly and evidently there seems to be an issue there, an ongoing issue, which it's not entirely the government's fault, but we can't fix a problem if we're not allowed to fix it. And I mean the police. You know, we have to respect our police, and we've got to allow our police to do their job. And I think only until then we can start taking a tougher stance. I mean, look at America, Grem. You and I both know, don't we, that America don't mess about. We've seen it. Yes, okay, there was some controversy with the police in America over a certain state and a certain ongoing issue. A sudden issue that came about, which was a shock to the world, understandably so. But you take the police in America, they don't mess about. And I think the fact that they are hard on situations...
But they've always been like that, mate. We've brought it, obviously, the conversation up in a few weeks in a row, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same as the police authority in Russia and China. These big major place, areas and forces of police forces. Sorry, they have to be seen as tough. None of this pandering around and etc.
Absolutely. Yeah. Lisa says history is what we learn by and learn from, and it's not as to what we say. Learn from your mistakes. It is that it's being. Start again. Sorry, guys. History is what we learn from. What not to do is, as they say, is learn from your mistakes, but it is being repeated. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Not doing very well tonight. Yeah, so guys, yeah, Lisa, you're absolutely right. I mean, you learn by your mistakes. You have to do something wrong to understand, to learn by it. And I think history has proven that, but we don't appear to be, and you're right, Lisa, we don't seem to be learning by our mistakes. Because in maybe 10, 15 years from now, if ever it ever gets brought up again, I highly doubt, but let's just say if it does, we talk about the BLM, and we'll be saying, oh, what a crazy bunch they were. I mean, was there any need for them to go out in London and start throwing things around and causing havoc and destroying things. You know, and we'll be looking back at that thinking, well, we could have done something different then. Well, we're not a silly nation. We're not a silly world. You know, people have learned. I mean, they say that people are supposed to be getting smarter, but you ask yourself, well, actually, it wasn't a very smart thing. But so, yeah, Lisa, I think you got a point. Graham, anything you want to bring in on the subject of today's news? Or I mean, we've got a few more topics, but is there anything you want to say on the matter of anything?
No, I'm fine. We can move on.
We can move on. Right. So, yes, this is a strange one. So, as some of you will know, there was a football match that was played between Manchester City, and they played in the FA Cup semi-final, but they were defeated to Arsenal on the Saturday. But a little bit of a funny one, actually, because Pep Guardiola was seen in the dugout, now in the coaching area, talking to a empty chair. And it's been dubbed that he's talking to an imaginary friend, and it's gone out in the news, and it's a bit of light-hearted fun, I suppose. I wonder what was going on there. This was when he was being defeated, so maybe he's got somebody on his shoulder chatting away to him, maybe giving him the next move. So that's just a bit of light-hearted fun. Isn't that funny, Graham? Do you ever find yourself talking to chairs?
Well, not chairs as such, no, but I have found myself talking to other things. I suppose sometimes you've got to chill out some way, haven't you? You are the only person that's going to be able to understand yourself. So talk away to yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, actually, sometimes it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes, not all the time.
don't we? Sometimes when you're in the car. Do you sing to yourself, Graham, when you're in the car?
I haven't done that for ages, actually. I used to whistle quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
I stopped whistling at one point years ago, whistling away all the time I used to when I was driving, because the reason why I stopped was it happened more than once.
Yeah.
People thought that I was blowing kisses to them. So I stopped doing whistling, driving in a car.
Graham, actually, on the subject of whistling, did you hear me whistle before the show started to your parrot?
No, I never did.
It was
Would
responding
you like
to me.
Well, was he?
Yeah.
Would you like to do the whistle again so we can hear it?
Me whistle? What, on the spot?
Yeah, whistle away. If I whistle, it's like I'm kissing out to our viewers.
Yeah, well, I think I don't want to wake the poor animal up. It seems like it's gone to sleep. I haven't heard it for a while, have you?
Well, he's in the other room with the door closed, and the room I'm in, the door's closed to actually block him out.
Oh.
So he's very noisy. Is Beefy, the African grey.
Very nice.
Mm.
Well, there you go. Having conversations with birds. Do you ever look at a seagull and think, like, what are you thinking? Like, I mean, having a conversation with a bird. I mean, like, does it never come across your mind? I mean, I was at work today, and I was sitting there, and there was this seagull that came right up close to me, and I kind of thought, I know it once, I know that much, but it was just kind of moving its head all the time, and I'm kind of thinking, what's it thinking? And it yawned. Now, guys, have you ever seen a seagull yawn? I mean, sad life sometimes I lead, but I saw this seagull yawn, and it yawned. I mean, just little things, isn't it? What about that? Graham,
Well, it's something to... Yes, I have, yeah. There's the amount of food that can shove down their gullet as well. It's just unbelievable.
But, I've always said this, and I don't know why I take so much interest in seagulls. I mean, I do like them. They're pretty, despite really what they do and what they are generally, but aren't they? But how do they keep themselves so clean? It's not like they've got arms or a sponge, is it? I mean, they're always clean.
I suppose because, well, they must like to take regular baths in the river or something, or in the sea. No,
It's
nice
like immaculately white though, Graham, isn't it? I don't understand that. It's not like they're using, I don't know, any bath lotion or anything, is it? It's weird. I don't know. Anyways.
Well, there was one that wasn't white the other day because I gave him the rest of the curry that my mum did not want to finish,
Yeah.
and it ended up with like an orange neck. I mean, it's quite
What the seagull
hilarious.
did?
Yeah, and it lasted for a good 3-4 days. This stain around his neck. It was very funny.
What did it do?
Sort
Roll
of.
around in it?
No, it's just because they just like they're like human, not humans, not human. Yeah, they're like certain humans. I'm getting my words mixed up. They're basically a garbage machine, aren't they? With wings, and it's whatever they can get down their throat so quickly because they don't want all the other birds to take. It was literally covered. It just went all the white neck just went like orange. Madras.
Do you know-
Madras curry.
Do you know what's really funny, Grem? Is we're sitting here talking about seagulls, and as if anyone would have thought our topics have dried up by now. I mean, seagulls. I mean, who would have thought? Of all the things you can talk about even, seagulls.
Rats with wings. My head teacher at school called them once. Well, a couple of times actually within the assembly.
Well, they're protected, aren't they? So we've got to look after these things. We've got to give them more respect, even if they do pop on your car. All right, give them respect. You know.
Don't go popping on my car. Thank you very much.
I actually
Don't pop
knew
on
a
Ben's
guy
car.
recently. He actually fed a seagull off from his hand. I mean, it was quite. He was quite brave to do it, but you know that could have ended badly, couldn't it? Because they're quite sharp, those beaks. I mean, if you ever, I don't know if any of you in the chat have ever been attacked by a seagull. I mean, I've been swooped by one, but I've never physically been clattered by one. I mean, I've driven along the road and they've come close to driving into my windscreen before, and that's freaky enough. And I'm sure damage could be done by doing so. God forbid it never happened, but yeah, you know what I mean. Have you ever been attacked? They are vicious, especially when it comes to their young. You know, you've got to be careful. You will get dive bombed, as they call it.
I've been attacked by I had to run over to the local shops. I was come back from school. I think I've told you this story. I might have told everyone. Actually, I told every people that are following my live feeds before we started the Ben&Grem page of our lives. The seagull just was swooping down at me on the way over. All I was doing was going over to the shop to buy a couple of bars of Cadbury's caramel, and I had this seagull like swooping down on me, attacking me. But it was nesting season, and my hair did look a bit like a walking nest. My hair went in the sixth form. My hair, for some reason, went like really strange, quite rough. It's like a head of pubic hair. It was just not very nice.
No,
No.
not very nice, is it? Head of pubic hair.
Yeah.
Graham, was it Friday this day when you went and got your chocolate bar?
Was it a Friday? Yes, it was the end of the week. School week.
Well, maybe the seagull had something to do with that chocolate. I mean, as in, because it's a Friday feeling, wasn't it? What was it? Aero? Bubbly? Friday feeling?
No, it was
Wasn't Aero,
no.
was it?
Was it Cadbury's caramel? Do you remember the advert with the rabbit?
Yeah.
Cadbury's caramel.
Friday feeling.
Yeah. No, Friday feeling was for another chocolate bar. That was crunchy. Was it crunchy?
Crunchy, Friday feeling, yeah. So was it crunchy you bought then? Or was it Cadbury's?
No, but is that the crunchy is Cadbury's?
Yeah, it is
But
Cadbury's.
no, it was Cadbury's caramel.
Right. Oh, well.
Back then, the segments of it were a lot bigger and a lot longer.
Getting smaller, isn't it?
I know everything's getting smaller. I mean, sometimes size is an issue. You know, size does matter when it comes to a decent chocolate bar. Yeah. But I haven't eaten chocolate for ages anyway. I've been very good. I've lost an awful lot of weight, so I'm being good. No chocolate for me.
Crunchy. Yeah, you got to admit the crunchy is a good one. Andrew says crunchy. Yeah, it is. It is a good chocolate bar. But they all are getting small. I think crunchies are getting smaller as well. And then what's this about? What I don't get, right, is why you get these chocolate developers. That's what they're called. creators, makers, whatever. They do it in twos. You know what I mean? Like Bounty, it's got to be two, isn't it? Or Mars Bar, they've got to put them in two. What's that about? Just have one long one. What's wrong with that?
Oh, the Duro is the Duro, isn't it? It's meant to be like a larger size, but not the size again of a normal bar.
I don't know. Guys, why do they do that? It's really annoying. I
know.
Is it because they expect you to share it with somebody else as well, so you're not eating as much chocolate? You know, you sort of like, you open one up, you've got someone with you, there's two sections, so you go, okay, and you give a section to your mate. Is it so that, is that what it's about, do you think? Because obviously if you've got a big long one, you're not going to be sharing it with anyone, are you? So, well, it depends really. Doesn't it?
Well, it depends how nice it is. It might be really nice and you wouldn't want to share it with anyone. And if it only just if it's just enough to touch the side of the mouth, then you're not going to want to share it, are you? There's no point.
Well, it is 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, it's been interesting, guys, hasn't it? It's been interesting, Grem, hasn't it? We've covered a lot tonight. We've covered seagulls, Black Lives Matter again, coronavirus. Not a big one on coronavirus this evening, but we've covered it nonetheless. Christmas and coronavirus. Don't want to go there. No.
No.
What else have we covered, Grem? There's something else we covered.
My screen's gone, honey. Sorry, everybody.
No, there's nothing funny about you, Grem. You're looking pretty good from my angle.
No.
And he knows it. His lighting's good, guys, isn't it? Grem's lighting's good.
Yeah, a little bit. It keeps playing up, doesn't it? My face keeps going a bit dark and then light, and then, well, it's hiding the wrinkles, so it's one good thing. We talked about the stabbing in London, wasn't it? That was one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was also the shocking situation in Notting Hill. What was that to do with a gang? Oh, crikey!
Oh, what?
There was some shocking footage.
Yeah, we played that earlier.
Yeah,
that was in Hackney, wasn't it?
Yeah, with the rioting and the police, and then eventually the police did fight back in the end, and then chased them off. Yeah, we've covered an awful lot. The one of the most saddest things is though the situation with the London cop. Suspended over the footage of him kneeling on a man's neck. Let's hope that the authorities get to the bottom of this, and we all do receive the bigger picture, and we see what actually has happened. It's okay to pass judgment, but if you weren't there, then how can you pass judgment? The only way we can pass judgment as the people is if we have full facts.
Full facts, not full fat milk. Grem,
Facts.
Yeah, facts are important. Whatever you do, that's right, that's the message. Right,
Exactly.
Also, another bit of information for you guys, and thanks again for joining us this evening. We want to talk about the Ben&Grem Show mug, because the Ben&Grem Show mug is going to be with you shortly. We have got them on the go, haven't we, Grem?
Yeah, well, shortly, very, very shortly, we'll be definitely on the go, yes. So,
how much are the mugs going to be then, Graham? Have we come to that conclusion yet? Have we or not?
well,
What do you think, guys?
well, the profit margins were the cost of the cut of the mugs are reasonably high. We're even if we do actually go and get it in bulk, like within like 2025, they do still come out at a high price. So the likelihood of us actually creating some money back to help with the production of the Ben&Grem show further is very slim, because there's only so much you can charge for a mug, and if they're already coming out at a high price when we actually purchase them, we can't really add much more on top for you guys to purchase them from us. So it's, in a way, it's we're probably just going to break even financially. Ben and Grem will break even financially.
Well,
we
that's
won't
it.
be making money on it.
Well, Graham, you know, we
Which is
never.
fine.
It's not.
Which is fine, because all we want is for you guys to be happy, and you know, you can sit there with your mates when they come around eventually after, you know, lockdown's all done one. You know, got back on a plane and flown a few thousand miles away, and disappeared off the face of the earth. But you can sit there with your mug, your Ben and Grem mug one day. Yeah, it's quite a cool one. Quite cool. We haven't gone for cheap, put it this way. But you'll be very pleased with the outcome, and it will be in a presentation box as well. So look out for that, guys, in the near future. Hopefully, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should know more on the topic.
Yes, that indeed we should, Graham. And again, you know, as I say, we don't do anything here to make a profit. We are just here to supply a trademark, if you like, if anything. You know, it'd be nice to have you drink or sip from a Ben and Grem show mug, wouldn't it, Graham?
Yeah.
But more to the point as well, I mean, if you're not somebody who's bothered about tea or coffee and you're not bothered about a mug, then maybe you could be bothered about a phone case. I mean, you know, if you've got any ideas with the Ben and Grem show emblem on, or the Ben and Grem show, so you've got the two characters, you've got myself and Grem, you know, if you're interested in any of that, you know, whether it's on a cap or on a pen, you know, let us know and we will put it together. I mean, obviously it's supply and demand, really. That's what it's really all about. There's no point, you know, in us, you know, developing all this stuff if of course there's no demand for it. So so we will supply on demand. But look, if there's any ideas, if it's caps or cups, mugs, you know, please give us a shout and message the Ben and Grem Show page, and we will we'll look into it for you. Yeah, it's great. Lee says it's all to do with getting model out and that it attracts a different audience. Mobile phones are expert at it. Yeah, it's true. Lisa says, thanks guys, it's been a good evening, good show, and have to go now, sort out the kids. Yeah, no problem, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's 11, Graham. No, it's not. It's 9:10.
11. Oh my gosh.
Don't want to be
No,
that
we're
late,
not. No, we're not going to be. No way.
Well, I suppose I'm getting a bit scrambled. It's getting to that time of the evening.
In fact, I was up sorry, right, Mr. Glazer.
Yeah. Well, you know, brains start to go to mush, don't they?
Yeah.
But it's been interesting. Right.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. I apologise.
Please don't.
No, I actually watched one of your old chats that you did with Ian Stead yesterday evening on my night shift. It was 4 hours. But it's quite funny. I really liked it. It was really down to earth and enlightening.
You got me thinking.
So I never watched it. I never watched it properly before. I only sort of like skimmed it and stuff. But I actually watched it all last night. It was nice.
What was it, Graham? What was it about?
You was sitting with him behind this bar in his. He had a bar. He had a bar, everyone, in his bedroom, and like with the beer pump and so on, and he's been brewing his own beer, Ian Stead, and yeah, it was quite strong stuff, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I don't know if I've ever told you the story, actually, Graham, or the viewers, actually, but I might even mention it on the Ben and Grem show. I mentioned it at some point somewhere. I can't remember. It wasn't that long ago, but there was a time where I think we mentioned it on the show when we had Ian with us. And do you remember that show, Graham? And I don't know if you guys remember seeing that as well. And I remember having the conversation. We went camping. I'll be very quick about it because I'm pretty sure I did mention this before. But we went camping and we were all sitting around the fire. It was on the hills in Dover, and there was about 5 of us. We had all our tents all put together. We had a laugh and a joke, bit of music, collecting wood for the fire. It was brilliant, really good. Summer's evening, and we were drinking. And of course, we made our own home brew. It was myself and Ian and a few others, and we'd take it up there in our rucksacks. And yeah, what a great time it was. But this particular home brew I made that would have fermented for about, I believe it was about four weeks. I made it up. I can't remember what it was with now. I think it was just fruit juice from the shop. Anyhow, it was like wine, and it was strong, and it was that strong. I remember I said something, or somebody said something. I think if it was it me or was it Ian, but one of us spat out the alcohol, and it went over the fire and caused a flame and a half. It bellowed a flame up. Like you
Didn't you
believe. And,
burn? You burnt something. Burnt. Was it cinders came out, didn't it? And
oh yeah,
burnt.
no, that was a bit later on. So I'll come to that in a moment. So yeah, so we had this view or vision that we were doing something serious to our bodies on the basis that if it was that flammable, what's it doing to our insides? Anyway, but alcohol is flammable, so it was probably strong. And I don't know how strong this particular alcohol was, but my guess was it was probably somewhere in the region of 20%. Because it can be up to 20% when you ferment, when you're doing natural fermentation. You can't get too much higher than that, I don't believe, unless you distill, which is not generally legal in the United Kingdom unless you've got a license to do so. So be aware of that. Yes, so that's your story. But no, where that story came from, Graham, was we were getting a bit drunk. It was a bit dark at night, and actually it was me and my reckless behaviour under influence of alcohol. I had a fuel canister, which was what was left of, should I say, of when we used to start the fire initially earlier on in the evening. I think it was a damp evening actually, if I remember rightly, and we needed to aid the fire a little bit to get it going. And stupidity had it, the canister ended up in the fire, and it exploded. It just popped. I don't think it exploded, it popped. But as it popped, it just threw ash everywhere, and obviously that came embers, and there was embers everywhere. And I'll tell you something, it was quite a sight actually. The whole area lit up. It was lovely actually. It was a memory. It was beautiful. There was bits of red everywhere, like red dots everywhere, all over the place. But we all freaked out at the same time. I remember we all sort of ran to each and every bush. We were stamping on everything because we thought it was all going to go up. And it didn't, and the embers went out, and there was no big incident after that. But and good that was the case. But it was a little bit of recklessness, and I think that's the worry, isn't it? That you're a group of lads, and you're out and about, you're camping, and you're drinking. It's never going to end well, is it? But it did. We were well behaved generally. We didn't really cause too much of a scene. The only issues I think we had was with cows. The odd cow would just walk up to your tent in the middle of the night, but they never used to come in, but it's quite scary when you just open your eyes in the morning, first thing, 5 o'clock or so in the morning, and all of a sudden there's cows trying to look in your tent. That's freaky. You don't expect that every day. But yeah, no, it was good, Graham. They were good times, and you do remember those times, you know what I mean? And I'm sure the viewers do, the times of the youth when you had more time on your hands, it seems. Time wasn't going so quickly.
Time has gone very quickly this evening, mate.
It has gone very quickly, Graham, this evening, very much so. And with that, it is probably about time we wrapped it up. So I'm just going to go over quickly the viewers. Just again, thank you everybody, Graham. We're really chuffed with everybody, aren't we? Who uses that
we
word,
are.
chuffed?
Well, thank you so much for all the effort that you guys are putting into keeping up with us, and it's really appreciated, and we are indebted to you. So please keep it going and share, and share. We need to be known throughout, not just the United Kingdom, throughout the world.
Absolutely. No, Lee says, are you sure it wasn't just white spirits? White spirits. Well, yeah, it might have been. There's a story about that I can tell you actually, but that's for another show. But no, white spirit. Don't drink white spirit. That's dangerous, by the way. Don't do that. That comes to another conversation, but that's for another day, guys. But yeah, no, it wasn't. It was fermented alcohol. It was basically fruit juice, Lee, and it was in 2-litre bottles of Coke, but so empty bowl. Basically, it was filled up with fruit juice, which was boiled. It was then left to cool to an ambient temperature of say 20 to 30 degrees. Because for those of you that are interested, when you try and make alcohol at home, which again is legal by the way, as long as you don't distill, it's perfectly legal. You get like a spoonful of yeast. I used to use what they call Cooper's yeast, which you can buy off the internet, but you can also get from some home brew shops. And so a spoonful of Cooper's yeast, and you just tip it into a litre of I don't know, fruit juice. But obviously boil it, because you want to take any of some of the bad preservatives out. You want to get some of that out. So you want it to be as pure as you can, and then you add your sugar. So the sugar eats the yeast, and as the sugar eats the yeast, creates ethanol, which is alcohol, and that's the process. And it bubbles, and it's quite therapeutic, Graham. I don't know if you've ever done it. I don't know if the viewers have ever done it, but if you get like they call it a carboy or a demijohn. If you get one of these bottles and you put the liquid in, and you use like a little airlock for the top, it bubbles as it ferments, and over time, it just constantly bubbles. It's quite therapeutic. It's quite interesting. But anyway, yeah, if you haven't done it, have a go. Give it a go. It's really good, and it's cheap, and that's the whole purpose by this. If you want some cheap alcohol and tasty alcohol, you made it yourself, bit of pride in doing so, then go ahead and do it. It's really good stuff. And the fact is also, by doing it, is you know where it's been, and you know how it's been made. You've made it, so you're drinking pretty much good stuff, really. But yeah, but if you're a spirit drinker, then it's a different ball game. You just need to get a license, distilling license. But yeah, I do know how to do that. Many of you may also equally know how to distill. It's not too difficult, but it is illegal. You're not allowed to do it in the United Kingdom because of health and safety rules, and methanol. And methanol is a very dangerous chemical which can be created from ethanol, which has to be exposed or disposed of. Again, equally extremely flammable. So yeah, you can't distill at home, guys, for various obvious reasons.
Yes.
Be very careful, please, and
Exactly.
don't do it. Don't do it. Do not distill. But anyway,
Yep,
guys,
don't
Graham, it's been
do a
great,
bend.
isn't it? So
Yes, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing evening, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without your efforts, Ben, with the production side. So thanks for that, mate. It's appreciated.
takes two to tango,
Thank
Graham,
you.
as always.
Yeah, the screen's going. My face is getting like darker and
He's getting
stuff.
all dark, like, yeah. Well, no, that's all right, Graham. No problem at all. Well, look, it's been great. Thanks again, Graham. Thank you to the viewers. And famous last words from me, and from him,
And from him.
and from me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we'll see you tomorrow
Yeah.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
watching
you,
the Ben&Grem Show.
everyone. And thank you. God bless to you all, and peace to everyone.
Peace.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah.